How's it going, everyone? Today I'll be going over how to replace headlights on the 2001 C5 Corvette from these old nasty stock ones to some brand new ones. And these headlights are called Bi-Led ACA Headlights. I ordered them off of Sharp Light Innovations. Tools you're going to need is a Phillips head screwdriver, T15 Torx, T20 Torx, a ratchet, extension, 1/2-inch socket, 10mm wrench, and an 8mm wrench, and also some WD-40. Now with your headlights up, you should have 3 Phillips head screws, one right here, and one right here, and one right here. This plastic piece loose, you should be able to just wiggle it out, maybe. Should wiggle out. I'm gonna put the camera down. Kind of hard to do with one hand. I'll come back to you guys. And there we go. Once when I got 2 hands on it, it came out instantly. It's time to pop your hood. You have 4 T15 screws you gotta take out. 1 here, 2 back here, here, and here, and 1 right there. These last 2 are hard to reach, so what I'm gonna use is a ratchet, 1/4-inch socket, and my T15 bit, and I'll show you how I do that. And just like this, I can get them out. I have this little magnetic ball. Put all my screws in. Pretty helpful. This guy should be loose. Should be able to come off. There we go. I think, yep, some wiggling here. Came off with one hand. And be careful with this guy, because it is your paint right there. You don't want to get any scratches on it. Now we're going to get one of the best things ever invented. Some WD-40. Spray on these 2 screws right here, right there. And this guy right here. We're going to let that set in. Next up, with that WD-40 set in, we're going to get a nice little T20. We'll put in my screwdriver, and we'll head back over there. The reason I put WD-40 on here and here is because it comes with Loctite from the factory, and it can be kind of hard to break loose, but I think we'll be fine. So let's just remove this screw and this screw. Well, like usual, I was wrong. I'm going to put this T20 into my ratchets. That screwdriver for me just wasn't working, so I'm going to try the ratchet. I also forgot to mention, you should probably use your 8mm wrench to hold the nut back here. Also, be careful. There's a little bushing that comes out with this screw. I'll tell you right now, these screws weren't too fun to take out. My nuts started stripping, but they ended up coming out. Let's get to the next step. Now, we should just be able to pick up this guy and maybe rotate it forward a little bit so we can disconnect it. Now with our headlights tilted forward, our next thing we gotta do is remove, we need to remove this nut right here. It's 10mm. You can use your wrench or 10mm socket, it's up to you. Alright, so now a little tip will be to tape. I'm really not too sure which one's the low beams and the high beams. I think that's the low beams. So I'm just going to tape the high beams, so I remember that the high beams are on the right side. Okay, I have my right side taped now. Just gotta remove them. Pretty sure I should just be able to spin counterclockwise. It should be able to pop out, maybe a little bit more. There we go. A little bit hard to do with one hand. Sorry for the bad view. Sorry about that, guys. Just had to hold it up. So just twist it counterclockwise and these will come out. Very easy to do. Alright, I finally got that arm disconnected down there, which allows me to take this guy out. And I ended up spraying some WD-40 on here. And you literally have to wrestle it out. It's very difficult. Hopefully I didn't damage it. And the way to take the headlight bulbs out of the housing is you have to take this blue clip off. It just clips off. I need 2 hands, so I can't show you. take this blue clip off, and then there's a clip right here. Just have to push up, and then this bulb will come off. In its little housing, all this will come off. The next thing we need to do is remove these 3 10mm screws, one right here, one right here, and one right here. You might need your socket extension for these. Now, since we have this piece all by itself, it's a good time to put some WD-40 on these adjuster screws. They can end up breaking from not being used and not adjusting your headlights. So I'm just gonna get some WD-40 and spray all over there. Now it's time to grab your driver's side headlights, and we're going to put these two back together just like how we took that one off. We're gonna use our same 3 screws, just hook it back together. Now getting this back together is probably the hardest thing that we've done so far. You actually have to pretty much self-tap your holes with the screws, and it can be pretty tricky. Best of luck, honestly, but I got mine on. You should be good. It takes a little bit of time. Now what I'm gonna do is put my headlight back onto where the arm, back onto that screw right there, and connect my 10mm nut. Alright, now I'm going to connect my connections back together, and I'm going to keep my black wire on my headlights and the black wire over here together. Now that we're all connected up, I'm going to start putting it back together. At this point, we should probably look at, see if the headlights do work, which they do. And I've tested the brights and everything, all lights work, so we're good to put everything back together. Okay, now that I have these 2 screws tightened down, I'm going to put the lid back on. Got my lid back on. Lastly, I'm going to put this plastic trim piece back on. We should be done for this side. Now we have our trim piece back on, and those look a lot better than the stocks. The passenger side light's the same, except we have to add this guy, this relay, and this relay. This will allow us to, sorry, I can't think. Allow us to have our low beams and high beams on at the same time. So do everything you did on the other side, and I'll come back to you when we're ready to install these. Your side light was much easier to install since I already did one. The second one's a lot easier. Now I'll show you how to wire up this relay. On your relay, you have a female connector and a male connector. You're going to connect the male connector into here. Make sure the black wires are lined up. It's going to go into our low beam, which is right here. But first, I'm going to connect this connecting rod. Now that I have my connector rod connected, I'm going to connect the end coming off of the relay to my low beams. Keep the black wires together, and you're good with connecting. Now we need to get to this guy. This guy allows our low beams and high beams to stay on at the same time. So let's get to that. Actually, I need to test to see if these lights work, and my low beams look like they're working. I can hear the little fan back there too, so that's good. So we're at our fuse box. If you don't know where that is, it's on the passenger side of the car. And we just need to unscrew this. The whole box just comes off like that. We have a bunch of different fuses in here. It's not too complicated. You have everything right here. You have a positive right here. And we could use our ground on our battery, but I think I'm going to use this ground back here, if you guys can see that. So let's get started for the actual wiring. The first wire we're going to do is our yellow one. It needs to be connected to fuse 10, which is this guy. So I'm going to pull this one out and show you guys how to put it in here. So you're going to squeeze that little fuse leg onto the brass piece, and then just put it back in where it needs to go. The next wire we're going to do is our white wire. It needs to go to fuse 9, which looks like it's that 10 one right there. We have the fuse number 9 out, I'm gonna do the same thing with the white wire that I did with the yellow wire. Now my white and yellow hooked up, I'm going to hook up my red. This is my positive to positive right here. And I don't know what size it is. I'll come back to you guys. I have my battery connected. I probably shouldn't. But if you're gonna do what I'm doing and have your battery connected, don't touch your positive with your wrench and touch the body or any metal. It's gonna arc and just disconnect the battery. Don't do what I'm doing. Okay, got my positive hooked up, still alive, so that's good. Now, I think I said earlier I'm gonna use that as my negative. Okay, cool. Got my negative hooked up. That nut is a 10mm, by the way. And now, let's check if our high beams and low beams will come on at the same time whenever I turn my brights on. Alright, I got my brights on, and yep, high beams and low beams are both on that side. And they're both on. Yep, on the passenger side too. Awesome. We know everything works. It's time for the easy part. Put this side back together, and then we should be done. And also, my relay down here on my passenger side, I'm gonna zip tie that to something so it's not wiggling around all the time. I'm also gonna clean this up a little bit too. Alright guys, that is it for this. Those look really good. I'm pretty happy with this. I think it took me a couple hours, I can't remember. I took a few breaks in between. But yeah, I wouldn't say anyone could do this, but you know, I could do it, and I don't know. Well, I hope you guys out. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching.